Our guest today we have is Jerry Peterson. Jerry, we're glad to have you here joining with us today. And let's just start out. Can you tell me and the audience that's watching, where are you located? Where's home for you?
California, in a town called Thousand Oaks, just outside of Los Angeles.
Okay. And we won't hold that against you being a Californian.
Thank you.
And just kidding. So tell us what tell us a little bit about your business that you have and how it got started and just kind of tell us your story with your business.
Sure. I'd be happy to. Just to give people maybe a little bit of a heads up, this isn't really a long arm business until very recently. So I'm going to go back in time. We're really a quilt store that is doing long arming. And that's a recent development, but I'm happy to share that part with you. But we go back 21 years actually. We purchased a quilt store for a very small amount of money. The gal was going out of business in our area in 2004, and my wife had been a quilter for maybe 10 years, and we just thought, well, this is something she really enjoyed. Maybe, we kind of wanted to have that business. So we took it on as a side business. We both had regular full-time career jobs. And so we laid out a little business plan and said, well, let's see if we can make a go of this. Maybe in about 5 years or so, one of us could retire and work the store and the other will keep going. And, we'll see how it goes. And so we started with 800 bolts of fabric and grew our business. After about 6 years, we moved to a larger location. And then after another 10 years, we moved to yet another location that's even bigger. And so we've grown very well. We now have well over 3,000 bolts of fabric, and that's kind of a metric that we use for measuring quilt store size. And we have added a large room that we use for sewing retreats. And so it's a pretty vibrant store. It's very well known. For those in the quilting business, there was a magazine called Quilt Sampler that featured the top 10 stores in North America twice a year. And we were featured in that magazine not once, but twice, once in 2012, once in 2022. And the quilt we designed for the magazine was on the cover both times. No other store had ever done that.
And what's the name
So,
of your store?
pardon me?
What's the name of your store?
Oh, you'll like that. A lot of people like it. It's called Cotton and Chocolate Quilt Company. And
Nice.
everybody goes, what's with the chocolate? And we go, quilters love chocolate. And honestly, it kind of came about because when you're hunting for a website name, even back in the day, everything quilt related was taken. Cotton is that. Somehow it came up and it stuck, and it's a memorable name, and it's just been terrific for us. So here we are in our 21st year, and we just renewed our lease for another 5 years. So we're still hanging in there and going.
Okay, so let me get this straight. This quilt shop that you've had, cotton and chocolate quilts. I love that, by the way.
Thank you.
Um, you have not had a long arm in all this time up until fairly recently. Is that correct?
January, the very first week in January, we bought a used machine from a local quilter that was retiring and moved it like 3 miles, moved it to our shop, and there it is. And we've trained, I'd say about 5 of us on staff now to be able to handle. We only do edge to edge. We're not doing custom at this time. That there's always room for growth in that, but there's plenty of business in long arming in our area. Ever since we opened up and started taking quilts, we've had a backlog of anywhere from 10 to 15 constantly. It just by the time we get them out the door, there's new ones coming in. So we're not hurting for that at all. So it's been great so far.
So, what machine did you get? What type of Gammill did you get?
It's called what is I forgot what it's called, an Optimum 30-inch.
Okay.
And it's about, I think it's 12 feet long. We can do pretty big quilts. It was interesting. The gal who had that machine before could only take quilts up to about 96 inches. And we never understood why till I went to her house and she had it in her bedroom, and the computer monitor that's on the swivel couldn't move out of the way. So she couldn't take a longer quilt. So when we installed it, of course, we made more room and we can do the bigger quilts now. It was pretty funny. So,
Nice, nice.
yeah,
So
I
you
wonder.
have an Optimum Statler, the computerized
Yeah,
version, right?
yep,
Okay.
yep. So we only do edge to edge, and we follow the steps, and it works like a champ. It's been
So
good.
you so you're on the Quilting Business Success podcast here, and you have about 4 months of experience on a Gammill. Is that right?
Well, as a store, yes, and as yeah, exactly. I
I
know.
got you.
Thank you. We will be successful at this business. I'll guarantee you that.
Well, that's great. So, do you have an impression of the machine so far? Is it primarily the people that work for you that are operating it? Or are you
Yeah,
operating it?
yeah, it's primarily staff that work with for me. We're not renting it out. It's primarily a business decision. The more quilts that we can do as a store, the more revenue we'll generate. So, renting it out and having people who don't know what they're doing mess up and stuff, it's just not where we
Yes.
want to go. At least not now, not maybe not for quite a while. So,
Yes. Well, I will tell you, I work in tech support here at Gammill, and some of the most frequent flyers, I call them, that call are people that do the thing that you're talking about. They rent the machine out for other people to use that don't really know what they're doing, and there's frequently things being broken or
yeah,
stuff like
I,
that. So
I can see it
probably a smart
happening.
decision.
Yep. I mean, we weren't without pitfalls starting. We learned, but it was mostly process mistakes, and we learned how to recover from them, and that was all good learning. And the gal we bought it from was super nice. And if we needed her, we just called her, and she just drove over and helped us out. And so we all got on our feet pretty quick. So
Excellent, excellent. And if you have not already, I would recommend to you and also the people watching, FYI, the people that watch this podcast are primarily people that are either thinking about or are in quilting business, and one of the things that I recommend, if you don't already have it, is the new owner training. If you're kind of new to the machine, and that new owner training is, I've received rave reviews from everybody that's tried it. You'll have it, you can purchase that, and for a lifetime, you'll have those videos that show you step by step how to do all the basic operations of that. So, so you have taken over cotton and chocolate. How long ago did you start running this?
2004.
2004. And what's been your favorite part about running a quilt shop?
It's interesting. I really enjoy interacting with customers. I mean, I've done some summer jobs in my youth in retail and stuff, and I always liked interacting with customers. And quilters are just special people. They're generally very nice people, and I just love them. And after this many years, our regular customers are our friends. They're just our personal friends. I mean, we know everybody by name, and it's a really nice business to have, and it's would be tough to let go of just because of that. So
Right, right. Well, I have one person who's asking a question on here.
sure.
However, this might be a question for me to answer. How many pantographs came with your machine, and have you added any in your first 4 months? With your machine, you have a computerized, so it won't be quote pantographs. It'll be patterns that are stitched on there. And I believe when you first register your machine onto your account, you get around 1,200 or so free patterns on there. Uh, you're not
Yeah.
sure? Yeah, it's around 1,200 that you get on there. And do you know if you guys have been purchasing any new patterns since you've been going or?
We go to a third party and buy some patterns, and it's been pretty successful too. So that's another way to build up your patterns. I wouldn't
Yes.
mention the company unless you want me to, but yeah, we
Oh, you
definitely
certainly
do that.
can. That's fine.
Um,
Um,
we use a lot of our customers like Ann Bright, so we go to Ann Bright Designs, and they just give me the name, and I have an account with them, and I can download it, buy it, throw it on the machine. Works great.
yes.
So
And I will tell everybody who's watching, when you have the latest version of Creative Studio, the 754, and you're signed on to you have a Pattern Cloud account. If something were to ever happen to your computer where all your patterns on there get fried or something, all your patterns are still saved in your Pattern Cloud account. So, and I've
it's a
actually
great
seen
way.
it happen several times before.
Hmm.
So that's a good thing. So hopefully that answers your question, Lisa. Um, Let me move on here. So in the 20 some years that you've been doing the quilt shop, how do you keep things like fresh and exciting for your customers after all this time that you've been doing it?
That can be a challenge because a lot of stores you walk into and they just feel the same all the time, and it's really nice. We get a lot of compliments, so when people come in our store, it always seems new and fresh. Um, for us, it has a lot to do with hanging quilts up that reflect the season and moving the seasonal fabric towards the front of the store. So when you walk into the front of the store, you're presented with um, either the brand new fabric that's been coming in or the seasonal fabric that's going on at the time. We'll have quilts hanging right above that. Most of our quilts are kits that we have designed and made, and so it gives the store a very nice look from the outside going in. We have some videos. If anybody's curious, we do post videos of our store. Matter of fact, my wife and I just did a video Sunday that I should be posting tonight after this podcast. We have a YouTube channel that people can follow, and I'll be posting it on our YouTube channel, and there'll be a link on our website. And it's her walking around the store. You can get a good chance to kind of get a view of that. That would be a good way to
Okay.
see it.
And what
So
is that YouTube channel? Can you share that with
I,
us?
it's just cotton and chocolate without an ampersand. You spell it all out, and you can find
Okay.
it.
And
Um,
at the end of this podcast, I'll uh, try to remind me. We'll get you to put out your information, how people can get in touch with you
sure.
and see what
Yeah.
you have. Um, so you have this Gammill machine. How did that come about? Did it just that a person had one available? And did you
Yeah.
know anything about Gammill prior to purchasing this one?
Very much so. My wife and I used to vend at quilt stores. We've been to our quilt shows. We've been to many of the large shows. Road to California is one of the bigger ones on the West Coast. We've been to Houston, et cetera. And so we were very familiar with seeing them at the shows when you guys were doing shows, and your brand and other brands. But we weren't really in a market for them. I mean, we'd see them working there and stuff. The gal that we bought from got hers, I think about 2012 or so. And so she had been doing this business. We were familiar with her. She was a customer of ours over the years. And we would send her our quilt samples to do for our, when we didn't have time to do them ourselves, and she would do ours. So, we knew her very well. And then late last year, her machine broke, so she said, which I think it was true. And then out of the blue, she emailed us, privately and said, "Hey, I've been evaluating my health. I want to retire. Would you guys be interested in buying the machine?" And we went, "That's an interesting thought." And she goes, "Oh, it'll really help boost your revenue in the store. And revenue is always something we're trying to drive in the store. It helps
Mhm.
pay the bills." So we got to thinking about it and we went over and saw it and she showed us how it worked. And then well, sorry, my cat is whining in the background. We went over and liked it. We found a space in our store. We moved a few fixtures around and then that all worked out really well for us. So yeah, um, that was that. And we called you guys up and we moved it over and set it up, and the rest is history. We're doing it. Customers are bringing them in. They're happy, and we're
Okay.
happy to help them.
Did you had one of our Gammill guys come set that up for you?
Yeah, yeah. I think it was Carl, who probably a lot of people know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Carl,
So
he's
he
great.
flew out, and I rented a trailer, and he had it all taken apart. Oh, here's Kitty. He took it apart and he threw it in a trailer. We all drove 5 miles and undid it. Away we went. It was great. It was super slick.
Okay. Well, so since you've had the Gammill, have you been able to actually start doing quilts on it and that for
Oh yeah.
for sale or
I personally have done, I don't know, 20 to 30 already.
oh okay.
We between our staff and stuff, we've probably done close to 100 now in 3 months.
Okay.
We're averaging 1 to 1.5 a day kind of thing. So we can turn them around pretty quickly when you have staffing that can drop in and run it for 3 4 hours at a time.
Yes.
Ideally, I'd like a morning and afternoon shift every day, and I think we could take on even more. We're not ramped up quite to that yet, but
Yeah.
we're getting there. We're
Well, and
getting
I'll
there.
tell you, there are a lot of people who have these machines and they keep them running almost around the clock. So
Yeah.
it's a pretty sturdy machine. How many hours a day are you running that machine, you think?
Usually from like 8 to 8, with two shifts, and then other times it might just be one shift for the day. Just depends kind of on the people's availability that we have trained right now. So,
Right.
um, and then I'm trying to build the process, right? I mean, it's new.
Yes.
So we set up a back room with a ironing board with a big table I built on it with the sailing cloth on it. And we try and get our regular staff when they're not busy helping customers to prep quilts, because that's almost half the time. By the time you've ironed it, sometimes squaring off the back, whatever you got to do to prep that quilt, we want it done. And then we have a big rack we hang them on. And then when somebody comes in to quilt, they're not spending time doing that. They're getting it on the machine and they're getting it going. And that's sort of an efficiency technique
Right.
that we're trying to develop.
Um, is that one of your staff that's there with you right now?
This here is Mr. Bingley.
Very nice. Very
It's
nice.
so funny. Every time we shoot a lot of YouTube videos with my wife doing instructional videos, and he's always there whenever we're shooting videos in quilting. So he's
Very
he's always
nice.
around. He's very cute. So loves the quilting.
Well, let me ask you, Jerry. A lot of the people that are watching would be interested to know, um, as far as charging for the making of quilts. Do you know? Do you go by the inch, by the hour, or do you know the process for that?
Yeah. So we leveraged a lot of what the gal did that we got the machine from, and she had a formula that she used, and we tweaked it for ourselves. And that there's a baseline charge by the square inch, and then we add a thread um, fee based on the number of square inches of the quilt. Um, and so that'll go up a little bit. It's not a lot. It's like, 5, 7, 9, 12, some number of dollars depending on, and we have a minimum quilting fee of $50. So if it's really small, it still takes time to do. So we have a minimum of that. And then we add a pattern fee on to that. And we add the pattern fee to everybody, whether we buy the pattern or not. And we just work that into the cost. And then there's batting. If they buy batting off the roll, we'll charge them our normal retail price for the batting that's required. And then in California, you get to pay sales tax on the whole kit and caboodle. So,
Yeah, yeah,
um, and that's how we do it. And we take it in, and we don't. So when they come in and they ask me, I don't give them how much. We get a lot of people ask how much per square inch, and I don't tell them. What I do is I have a table with some number of square inches and a few samples of 60 by 80 and 70 by 90 or whatever. And then if they know approximately the number of square inches of their quilt, then I give them a range from, it's usually a $20 to $30 range, so that they don't know what's hidden in the cost that I roll up on that.
hmm
And they're usually fine with that. I go, here's your rough estimate. Let me do a detailed estimate. The other thing we do is we usually add anywhere from $8 to $20 if we have to do extra labor, like piece of back. Some people
uh-huh.
just drop their back off. They just throw it there, and then you're like, "Oh, you didn't piece that." Well, you get to pay for it. We'll sew it. We'll do that. Or even squaring off takes time, so we'll put a small charge on there for squaring off. Right now, we're not trimming the quilts. I'm thinking about doing that. The gal we bought it from always did, um, and just make that an upcharge. You want it trimmed? Okay, we'll just
Yeah,
upcharge it,
yeah.
and that's another way to maybe make some more money. So yeah.
And I will tell you, Jerry, along with all the people watching, that I would you would probably benefit from going back and watching all the back issues of this podcast, because you'll see one thing that you'll see is um, a large variety of different ways that people have their charging structure, just like you're discussing. And from listening to other people, a lot of times you might pick and choose little, oh, that sounds like a good thing for our setup too. So
I watched
just
one. I watched
FYI.
one yesterday, and I picked up exactly that. Like, why aren't we trimming it and charging them? Like, oh, I'm going to do that. So,
Yes, yes.
yeah.
You'll be able to improve your business. I have a question here from Lisa that says she was listening to talking about, because the people that are watching this know that you're relatively new on the Gammill right now, and she's saying, what is the learning curve like? Your process seems to be quite smooth. 100 quilts in 4 months seems to be highly productive. Has it been easy to transition to the long arm?
Uh, yeah, it's been easy. It hasn't been without its bumps. And honestly, strangely enough, I'm gonna be upfront with you. I haven't watched any videos. I haven't watched any. We were trained by the person who did it. She had written up a process to follow. We followed that process pretty much to the T, right?
Uh-huh.
And when we made some mistakes, we tweaked our process a little bit. We haven't had too many snafus. I've only had to pick out a few rows here and there when the tension went wonky and I didn't see it underneath and got the eyelashes. That happens. And then
Yes.
you go fix it. You just kind of say learning experience and move on. I mean that's kind of stuff happens. And then you scratch your head and you go, what did I do wrong? What caused this? And then you start to go, okay, don't forget to put the side clamps on before you baste, or whatever it is you need to do it, because otherwise you're risking yourself having a problem for sure.
Gotcha. How would you say, as far as productivity, I know you're still early in the process. How would you say I don't know if you operated before on a, what is a mid arm or just a machine?
Nope. I've never been on a mid arm or a long arm ever.
Okay, so
So
y'all didn't. Okay, okay. So
maybe,
this is a totally
maybe
new.
I'm an
Yeah,
engineer. Maybe it was easy for me to learn, but I've trained other people on our staff have learned equally as well. And you follow the instructions on the screen and you know what to do in between, you're fine. If you just do those things and pay attention and don't walk away for too long a time, um,
right.
you can make it. I don't know. I found the learning curve not too bad,
Okay.
really.
Well, having the quilting shop for a long time, is there any trends or shifts in what quilters are looking for these days? Do you notice anything like that?
Trends over the years that we've seen is that quilters um, seem to want to get together and sew, and they'll pay to do it. And the best thing about this new location we got into 5 years ago is we added a sewing room, and we can give 20 people a 6 foot table, and we hold 3 day weekend retreats once a month, and it's packed. They just want to get together and sew. And we used to offer classes on specific quilts, and we put out a newsletter every 4 months. It's about a 10-page newsletter with all our classes in it. And we've done that since the beginning. Never missed it. A little bit in COVID, but we pretty much have been right on the money every 4 months, like clockwork. And a lot of our classes have shifted to clubs. We now have 5 pages of clubs, and it's pretty much the same people just wanting to come. And so we have these little groups, and they come in some during the day, some in the evening, some on the weekends. And I'm telling you, when they're in the store, they shop. You get somebody that's going to sit there for 3 days, and they come and they spend their money. So, and it's working out really well for us. So that's
Right.
probably the biggest trend I've seen in the business. Just for us. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so with your shop starting back in the 2000s, how how has your shop adapted to online sales, online media, and stuff
It,
like that? What kind of trends? What have you seen with that?
that was a transition that we had to make. Back when we started, we had a point of sale system that was just on our computer, and all our inventory was stored locally, and it worked. We could have a couple of computers, but they seemed to be able to manage the inventory that way. And then probably 10, 15 years ago, we transitioned to an online point of sales. Because back then, you could put fabric up on the website prior to the cloud. But if somebody bought something at your store and you didn't update the inventory online, somebody could online try and buy it when it was gone. And so we moved to a cloud-based point of sale system from Rain Retail, and it's pretty seamless. There's one, they own the inventory on their cloud, and we just click a check mark to put it on the website or not on the website. And that's been really beneficial. And then just in this last year, they did something that I didn't expect. They embedded an AI descriptor in there so that I can take a picture of the fabric and click a button, and it writes a description of the fabric for the metadata that goes on the internet. And our sales have picked up just from regular use of using AI to describe the fabric. Instead of just having the name of the fabric on there, which was, the shortcut, now you have a description to go with it. It's pretty cool. Really nice.
Awesome. Well, Jerry, do you use any programs to manage your the revenue planning, any of that?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, like I said, I come from an engineering background, so I understand a lot of the tools. My wife and I both have MBAs, so we understand the basic accounting. So that's been useful. We use QuickBooks for a lot of our accounting, and then I I like the fact that stuff is stored in a database, and so with my old system was really nice because I could write code and drill into the database. This one, they don't let me do that, but I can create reports from them and I can export data into a CSV file that I can edit in Excel, and then I can, scour things. I can look for trends. I can summarize. I can send emails to groups of people. There's a lot of things I can do external to their system just by accessing the data, but it's just usual basic tools. I mean, I track my sales in Excel at least once a month, and then we use the accounting tools to keep track of our business. Um, so that's kind of how we do it. It's not they provide a wide range of reports, so daily sales and all that kind of stuff's no brainer. They have all that built in.
Gotcha. Well, with the Gammill machine that you now have, um, how do you see, I guess both now and moving forward, how do you see this long arming complementing your quilt shop going forward?
It's good because anytime you get somebody in the store, they're potentially shopping. And so having it physically located in the store brings them in the store to drop it off, brings them in the store to pick it up. And, it's not taking up really any of my sales space. I just, carved out a space and moved some things around. So we didn't have to reduce our inventory or anything. It also is a novelty. People come in and they see it and they're like, wow, that's really cool. And they see it operating, right? And they can say, oh, I could bring my quilt in and have you do it. And so it spurs interest in general. One of the things we're exploring now that we had never done before is we didn't really carry many wide backs in our store.
Mm.
And I'm seeing a lot of our customers bring in wide backs that they didn't buy from us. And so we're starting to carry wide backs and thinking that this will generate some more fabric sales so that they're not buying their boots somewhere else. And that was a surprise to me. I didn't realize how much people like the wide backs.
With my interviewing of you, we're kind of going back and forth from
Sure.
just your experience with the quilt shop and also with your Gammill machine that you currently have. But I do want to ask you because for the people that are watching, they want to know how they can build their business and what things have been good or not so good. Is there anything that you wish that someone had told you that you wish you would have known early on when you started this particular business?
In particular, because the quilt business is a whole different answer than the long arm business. Because in the quilt business, I wish somebody would have told me that there's, unless you're like really online and you're really on it and you're doing a lot on social media, your business is going to be adequate to probably pay your bills, especially if you have a brick and mortar. But it's not going to make you rich, right?
Right.
I can see with the long arm, even though I have to pay the labor for my staff, I can still make a decent amount of money per hour on that machine. And the more hours it's operating, the more we're making, right? When I go in and operate it, and I try and do it about 20 hours a week, I'm not paying anybody to operate it. So it's all revenue for me. So that's a way of looking at it from an owner's perspective. I do all the shop samples, for example. I wouldn't pay my staff to do a shop sample on there because basically that would probably cost me money. So it's better for me to do it. And I give my staff a discount on their quilting, and I insist on doing their quilt unless they feel strongly otherwise, because again, the margin's too small when you give them a discount. So there's just
Right.
ways to approach it that's more business-like, I guess.
Yes. Well, in the process of both the quilting shop and the recent development of the long arm, who or what has been your biggest support over the years in doing this?
Well, well, for me, I mean, my wife and I are partners in this. Absolutely. It was funny early on, people didn't really get that, with the man being in the store and this and that. But of course, my regular customers all see me as an equal because, I didn't even sew when we opened the quilt store. My wife was the quilter. Um, and so because we had full-time jobs, we had part-time managers and part-time staff that ran the store. Maybe about, could be almost 10 years in, I finally decided that I would like to do this. And so my wife got me a machine, and now we share a sewing room in the house with our machines facing each other, and we sew. And, I think having that experience of being a quilter helps you interact with long armors. Like we understand more about fabric choices, thread choices, color, all that kind of stuff has really made it better for us to do that and make people feel comfortable leaving their quilt because we'll give them suggestions, because a lot of them, they just don't know and they're looking for your guidance. And that, I think the experience of that store really pays off in that perspective. Just that background. If we were just Joe Blow setting up a long arm business and not ever having been a quilter or understanding that fabric, I think it'd be more challenging, definitely, and a bigger curve. Whereas it's pretty comfortable for all of us to get in there and interact and deal with the customers very much.
Yeah. Well, I want to ask you this one question, recognizing that you're still relatively new in the long
Sure.
arming,
Hmm.
but from your perspective, and you do have a unique perspective, just because you're a little bit of a short timer with this. Do you do you have do you feel that um, running a long arm business is something that has a good potential for success for like somebody that's watching this? What would you say to them based on your limited amount of experience thus far? Let me get you to repeat the first part of your sentence. That the audio cut off a little bit.
100%. I would recommend it.
100%.
Yeah, if you can attract customers, and depends on your area, of course, and how much available, how many quilters, et cetera. But if you can generate a regular stream of customers, um, so for example, the gal that we bought it from, she was notorious for turning her quilt around in one day, which was amazing. And everybody loved her for it. And she got to a point where she stopped taking new customers because she didn't want that backlog. But she had enough regular customers that just fed her constantly. And she finally cut back from working 70 hours a week to like 40 ish. Um, but because she isn't paying rent like we have to pay for our space, and she's not paying staff, which we have to pay, that all that money, other than what she was putting out for the cost of thread and batting, was pure profit for her. She paid for her machine in less than a year, easily.
Mm.
And then she had 11 more years of just pretty much profit, other than the maintenance and that she had to deal with. So she made a decent living with that, I'd say. Um, I can't really tell you what she was making, but it was plenty. It was upwards near of six figures. You could easily get over six figures with if you really go at it. It's a lot of labor and you're spending a lot of time. But if you had a partner in your household that somebody's prepping and you're quilting and you can keep that machine busy by the two of you working, you can make bank. You can do pretty well.
Yeah.
So that's I wouldn't hesitate to tell people to start this business. It seems like a good thing to do.
Great. Well, thank you for that. Jerry, we're getting ready to wrap up, but if looking over the next 5 years or so, what do you hope or think that the next 5 years will look like for your shop and now your long arm setup too? What kind of vision do you have for your business?
I like to be an optimist, so I'd like to see a steady, slow growth of our shop and customers, and we want to stay um, present, and you have to do that by building your social media. You got to be able to reach beyond your community. You got to get a little bit more online sales, and so that's the path that we need to grow on in order to sustain our business. And that it doesn't have to grow a lot. Just I need enough money to make sure I can pay rent and payroll every month, and so I want that to grow.
And
And you do that by building loyal customers for your base, and then you add on with additional for sure.
that being said, I w- over the years, do you know what would you say has been your primary way to grow your customer base? What do
Well,
you have any feedback on that?
yeah, it's it's different for the quilt business and maybe a long arm business because for us, we got our name known by vending at quilt shows, and we would go to local shows and we would go to regional shows and national shows, and we would brand that way, and people became to know who we were very well. And that was the kind of thing that works for us. In a long run business, it might be a little bit different. Word of mouth goes a long way. Put your cards out in local quilt stores. Do what you can to get yourself known. We used to, before we had long arm, we had business cards in store. We still have a few. I don't care. Um, but we would run out of them and stuff. And there was certain quilters we would recommend personally, and certain ones we would go, you should see what their quilting looks like before you choose to use them, that kind of thing. And so it's like that's a great way to kind of get your name out there and develop regular customers. Those, if they like you and you go above and beyond, they'll keep coming back. I mean, we had one local long armor that they'll put your binding on, they'll do all that stuff. They'll put a label on the back. You want all that? Sure, I'll do it for you. Um, that's up to you. I'm not sure I want to pay my staff. I can't really mark up that stuff enough to pay my staff to do it. So some of those things I may not offer, but I might have a business card of somebody who does bindings. Here, she'll do it for you. Go for it. Call her. Then we have a symbiotic relationship with her, and she likes it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Jerry, I really do appreciate you joining us on Quilting Business Success tonight. I'm going to give you a chance to, if there's people that would like to either get in touch with you or find you, I'm going to ask you to give whatever information you would like to give us for that. Um, but I wanted to encourage the people watching or listening to, if you have not already, to watch as many of these episodes of this particular Quilting Business Success podcast that you can, because the benefit that you get is a lot of different people's viewpoints from different stations of life, and and it really will help you a lot in your personal business there. So Jerry, if people would like to get in touch with you or find you, how can they get in touch with you?
ways to do that. You can email me. I'm fine with that. My name's Jerry, and it's at cottonandchocolate.com. You spell it all out. That's the same as our website. You can go to our website. It's real easy to find. You remember the word chocolate, you can usually find us, Continent Chocolate. So continentchocolate.com, there's a contact us spot on there. You can reach out to me. I'm the one that receives all those. I read them, I respond to them. We're on Facebook and Instagram, Continent Chocolate. So you can find us there, and keep track of us. We're happy to help. We're pretty well. We service our community and we try and go above and beyond. I delivered a quilt locally today because the gal had a pacemaker put in. So I personally just drove it to her house. That's what we do. So that goes a long way, right?
Yes, yes, definitely does.
Yeah,
Well, Jerry, thank you so much for joining us on Quilting Business Success. It's really been a pleasure talking to you.
sure.
And feel free to call us anytime at Gammill. And I guess that'll wrap it up for this week of Quilting Business Success. Jerry Peterson, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everybody, you guys have a great week.
All
Bye-bye.
right. Bye bye.
Okay.